Hey, what's up everyone? Adam here with brahwegotthis, and today we are back with our 5th ultimate class guide, and this one features the Warden Class. If you aren't familiar with these guides, we have been going through all the classes in the game this year and doing ultimate breakdowns of each of them. I go through what each class's strong suits are, what roles they excel at, what each skill and passive does, and I give you 4 sample builds for tank, mage DPS, stam DPS, and healer. So let's jump into the icy and nature themed Warden class of ESO. Real quick, I do want to give a massive shout out to all the patrons. Thank you so much for all the support. If you'd like to become a patron, check out the link below in the description. You get your name up here and many other perks. We also do hangouts and everything as well with all the patrons. You can also come watch me play live on twitch.tv/brahwegotthis, and you can join our Discord and check out our website at brahwegotthis.com. So first off, the Warden was introduced when the Morrowind expansion first came out. This was the first expansion class added to the game, and I think overall a lot of players in the player base like playing Warden. They are a great utility and a great support class, and have potential to be hard-hitting DPS classes as well. Some key elements of the Warden that I really like are the passive buffs you get to frost and magic damage. I have 2 builds here in the channel and on the website that utilize this passive buff. One is Magicka DPS Frost Warden build, and the other is a Magicka Detonation Healer build using Dark Convergence. And before you judge me for using that set, it is a PvE build. What these passes allow you to do is just have some fun and creativity with your builds. I'm not claiming that these will be meta, but there are some cool combination of sets out there that really augment this even further. We have Frostbite set, we have Icy Conjurer, we have War Maiden, and much more. So if you look at the passives here in Winter's Embrace, this one increases your magic and frost damage by 10%. Another thing that I really like about the Wardens are the insane resource, regen, and sustain. The Betty skill is in the Animal Companion line, and this is crucial for every Warden build in my opinion. Not only does each variant remove harmful effects, it gives you the corresponding resources back depending on the morph. For the Bull Netch, it regens stamina. For the Blue Betty, it gives Magicka back. It is a game changer when playing Warden. Another passive Wardens have is the Flourish passive, which allows you to have 12% Mage and Stam recovery when an Animal Companion ability is slotted on your bar. This is just a game changer for sustain. I love this passive. One of the other key elements of the Warden that I really love is the buff and debuffs that the Warden bring to the table. We have a lot in the Winter's Embrace line with Frost Cloak. This will give major resolve. We have Impaling Shards, which will eventually immobilize enemies. We also have the ability to use Fungal Growth, which will eventually give you minor intellect, minor endurance to you and your allies, which will give you Mage and Stam recovery. You've got a lot of heals in here as well. There's just a lot of buffs and debuffs that the Warden can put on an enemy or on your character's allies or yourself that really help with the builds in this game. And the last thing I want to highlight with Wardens, and believe me, there's more to talk about, which we will get into in the skill sections, is just another sheer power level of a lot of the passives you get with the Warden. I mean, just for stacking abilities on your bar, you get damage buffs. So that's like Bird of Prey, right? You get minor Berserk just from having this on your bar that increases your damage by 5%. It's crazy. You also get Mage and Stam recovery, like I said before. I mean, just for stacking abilities on your bar, you get damage buffs. Like for advanced species, increase your damage done by 2% for each Animal Companion ability slot. That's just an increased flat damage buff. It's insane. You get Mage and Stam recovery, like I said before, as well, and you get a reduction to snares in the Winter's Embrace Icy Aura one by 15%, which is just insane. That's just like a flat reduction to snares. You also get ultimate generation with Savage Beast. So if you look at Savage Beast, whenever you cast an Animal Companion's ability while you're in combat, you generate 4 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. Just an absolute insane list that keeps going on, and we will cover these in depth in this skills section, but the passives are just absolute powerhouses. So after going through an overview of the class as a whole, I always give my difficulty rating for how hard the class is to play. For Warden, I would rate it a middle of the road to beginner class. The reason being is when we get to the skills section, you're going to see how easy it is to do DPS and increase DPS for those players. As a tank and a healer, you have so many options available to you, but I would say those classes take a little bit more skill to utilize than the DPS classes. Now I'm going to go into the roles, the specific roles that you can play in this class, and then we will go in depth on the skills and passives and then the builds. For DPS, I would say that the Magicka DPS specifically is very easy to play. It has a lot of single target damage and the ability to sustain very well. We spoke on the resource regen you get with Blue Betty, but also the passives as well. I love that you get the passive damage bonus from your animal companions skills that are slotted on your bar. You get the bonus magic and ice damage as well. Basically all of your damaging skills are magic and ice damage, so that's just fantastic. With the passives in the ice tree, you get some critical damage as well. So if you look here, in Glacial Presence, enemies and allies who have recently been chilled take 10% more critical damage and healing from you, which is crazy. Not only does that work with damage, it works with your healer as well. Another thing that augments and makes your rotation even easier is the Falcon Swiftness skill, or the Bird of Prey. Putting this on your bar will just give you a flat minor berserk buff, increasing your damage done by 5%. That is crazy if you think about it. Couple this with Inner Light from the Mages Guild, and you in your front bar can literally have just 2 damaging or 3 damaging skills, and you will have the simplest of rotations. That's why I said Magicka Warden is probably one of the beginner friendly damage classes if you would want it to be. Sets that really help the Warden is War Maiden from Vardenfell, because it increases magic damage. So if you look here into War Maiden, it will give you weapon and spell damage to your magic damage abilities. And then Frostbite will also be good for obvious reasons if you want to go the ice damage route. And of course, the usual Mother Sorrow and Medusa are also fantastic for Warden. Now, for stamina DPS, I'd say when I've played this role, I've found that I just love using the class abilities. The animal companion line just has so many options. It's hard to choose what you want on your bar, to be honest. But the Warden has a great capability of making a bleed build due to the Cutting Dive and the Growing Swarm abilities. So if we look in our skills here, Growing Swarm will apply bleed, and then Cutting Dive will also apply bleed. You have a lot of potential to use sets that really augment that, and so we'll get into that once we get to our stamina DPS build here. But then you couple that again with Bird of Prey with a 5% damage buff from Minor Berserk plus minor vulnerability from Growing Swarm, and you're going to hit hard. Shulks also is a great hard-hitting skill as well, which you'll see here, or Subterranean Assault, whatever you want to call it. This hits a lot. For stamina DPS, I really have a hard time picking through a lot of these though, and you'll see my build later on for this, but you really have a lot of options as a stamina DPS. As a tank, Warden tanks are one of the best in my opinion. They have resistances, debuffs, and buffs. They have great self-heals and shields. Warden tanks have a Frost Cloak that gives you a minor protection and major resolve, which is insane. It's just a great thing and a necessary thing for tanks. They also have nutty self-heal Arctic Wind. So if you look here, Arctic Wind will then go to Polar Wind, and it just is a ridiculous heal that heals you and an ally. Crystallized Shield as well is a great shield for them. So if you look here, if you go into then Shimmering Shield, this will also give you Major Heroism, which will grant you 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds when it absorbs a projectile. It's a fantastic shield for Warden, especially Nord tanks, because you have so much ultimate regen already. It's crazy. Frozen Gate is a solid pull, which is right here, but it's just something that I like, but it's not as good as like the DK Chains pull in my opinion. With the Warden though, you also have the Blue Betty or Betty Netch that will give a lot of resources back. Right here, the Bull Netch, and depending on which one you want to run, I usually run the Bull Netch. And the ultimate in the healing tree is just insane. The Secluded Grove, you can pick the Enchanted Forest, which gives so much ultimate back, just a powerhouse ultimate. You have up all the time due to its low cost. It's just crazy. If you run Nord, you'll get it back even faster, and it's just a very nice heal. I haven't played much healer, but when I talk about the healer, just keep that in mind. But the times that I have, the Warden has been awesome. The Warden possesses some fantastic burst heals and heals over time. The whole healing tree is honestly just a powerhouse. You're able to supply minor intellect and endurance for 20 seconds with fungal growth, like I was saying before, which is a massive buff for teammates because it increases stam and magic recovery by 15%, which is really nice in long fights where they need resources and sustain. Budding Seeds provides a nice heal over time, and Healing Thicket again is a fantastic ultimate. It has such a low cost, and the amount of healing it does is just insane. I also really like Warden healers for their potential to work with a lot of sets and combinations. I love the ice and nature theme of them, and they can pair nicely with Winners or Spite. You can do some funny stuff with Dark Convergence, like I said before, and I have a build on that in the channel, like I said, but it's just a great versatile class, and a lot of players I know that run Warden healers are very, very pleased with them. Okay, now we will go over the full skills and passive section. This is where I go over every skill and morph and the passive, just to show you what exactly each thing is doing, or whatever you want to call it. But this is a great time to pay attention to see what these skills will do, and if you like them or not, or if you want to give them a shot. Okay, so we'll start off with the animal companion line. We have the first skill, Dive. What Dive will do is it will deal magic damage, and if you're more than 7 meters away, you'll set them off balance. This will morph into Cutting Dive and Screaming Cliff Racer. Cutting Dive is a stamina ability, and you use on stamina DPSs. It's going to apply bleed damage, and it's also going to do the off balance, but what it's also going to do is it's going to rip them again and make them bleed for more bleed damage over 7 seconds. And this effect can stack, which is insane. So if they're already off balance, it will make them bleed for even more. Screaming Cliff Racer is the Magicka variant that you run on the Magicka DPS. This is going to cost Magicka, and this extra ability that this is going to do is it's going to deal up to 15% more damage based on how far away the enemy is. You can go all the way up to 28 meters away, which is insane. This is a ridiculous spammable for Magicka DPS. Next skill, Scorch. It morphs to Subterranean Assault, which is the stamina version. You'll use this a lot of times on stamina DPS. You don't always have to use it, but this is going to attack after 3 seconds. It's like an AoE attack with a 20/7 radius, deals poison damage, and then when they complete their attack, they'll burrow again and do more poison damage to enemies in front of you. So it's a really good attack. This is Deep Fissure. Deep Fissure is a good Magicka ability. This you can use on tank if you'd like, but really on Magicka DPS. This is going to do magic damage instead of poison damage, but then when they're damaged, they're going to be afflicted with Major Breach, reducing physical and spell resistance. So it's really nice for tanks to get that AoE Major Breach, because you get Major Breach with Pierce Armor, but this is a nice AoE. You can also use Caltrops as well, but this is a great magic damaging attack as well. Next ability is Swarm, which will morph to Fetcher Infection and Growing Swarm. Fetcher Infection is the Magicka variant. We use this on our Magicka DPS. Again, you could use this on your healer or tank to apply minor vulnerability, but it's really up to you. This is going to do a ton of magic damage over 10 seconds, and every second cast of this ability deals 50% increased damage. It is a insane skill, and it also does minor vulnerability, which helps your teammates and you out. Growing Swarm is the stamina version. This does bleed damage instead, and enemies near this carrier take more bleed damage every 2 seconds. It's, again, an absolute insane damage over time. This is one of the MVP skills of the Warden. Betty Netch morphs to Blue Betty, and then Bull Netch. Blue Betty is used for Magicka and healers, or tanks if you need it. This is going to also give, this is something that you're going to get Magicka back, but you're also going to get Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20%. It is amazing. It's also going to remove negative effects from you. Bull Netch is good for stamina DPS or tank. This is going to give Major Brutality and Sorcery again, and then it's going to remove negative effects, but it's going to restore stamina. Last skill on the line is Falcon Swiftness. I love this one. Bird of Prey is a slottable that you can use. It gives minor berserk, increases your damage done by 5%, but it also gives you Major Expedition for 6 seconds. Deceptive Predator, the only difference here is it gives minor evasion, reducing your damage from area of attacks by 10%. So you could technically use that on a tank, but I don't really use it. You don't really need it, but it is solid. The ultimate is Feral Guardian. This is something you can use on stamina or Magicka DPS. I try not to use it if I can, just because like it's kind of boring, to be honest, but I like trying to use other things, but it's just so good. I mean, it's so good. Wild Guardian is going to do physical damage instead of magic damage. You can also have them deal 100% more damage to enemies below 25% health, which is insane. The other one is magic damage, and it's going to stun them. And again, it's going to deal 100% more damage to enemies below 25% health. It's a great execute. I just like trying to find other ways to use it. The passives are insane. Again, Animal Companion, Bond with Nature. Anytime one of your Animal Companion skills end, you're healed for 1260 health. Savage Beast, whenever you cast an Animal Companion's ability while you're in combat, you generate 4 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds, just absolutely insane. Flourish, increase your Magicka and stamina recovery by 12% if an Animal Companion ability is slotted, just absolutely insane. Advanced species, increase your damage done by 2% for each animal companion ability slotted. 12%. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Now let's move to green balance. Green balance, we have fungal growth. This is one of your MVP skills. As a healer, you have enchanted growth or soothing spores. Soothing spores is converted to stamina. It heals your allies for 15% more. I don't really use this. I would use enchanted growth for your healer, because this is going to still give you an insane heal, but it's going to give you, them minor intellect and minor endurance, which is just insane, y'all. Like, it's such a good buff for your teammates. Healing Seed is then morphed to Budding Seed or Corrupting Pollen. I would use Budding Seed. Budding Seed is going to heal you and your allies after 6 seconds, and then as the field grows, you're also going to be healing you and your allies. You can activate this ability again to cause it to instantly bloom, and then allies can activate the Harvest Synergy that will also heal them as well. Corrupting Pollen will be less healing, but enemies who enter in will be afflicted with Major Defile, reducing their healing received by 16%, which for PvE, I don't really think is that big of a deal, but yeah. Living Vines, you have Leeching Vines and then Living Trellis. Living Trellis, what this will do is this will, the lowest health ally in front of you for 10 seconds will get healed every time they take damage. When this expires, they'll also heal for additional health. And then Leeching Vines, what this is going to do is going to give minor lifesteal instead to enemies that damage the target, healing you and your allies for 600 health every 1 second when damaging that enemy. So you really use either one for this. I'm using Living Trellis for the healer build. I think both of these are solid. I think it's really up to you what you want to use here, but I like both of the skills. Next skill we have is Lotus Flower. This morphs to Green Lotus and Lotus Blossom. I really like this skill. Green Lotus, this will cause your light attacks to restore 1320 health and your fully charged heavy attacks to restore 3960 health to you or nearby allies for 20 seconds. You'll also gain Major Savagery, increasing your weapon critical rating by 2629 for 20 seconds. So you could technically put this on your stamina character if you'd like, but I didn't put it on there, but it's still a really cool skill. Lotus Blossom, the difference is you're gonna gain spell critical Major Prophecy instead of the weapon critical. So I like Lotus Blossom for like healers, but I really don't put this on my bar otherwise. It's again something you can if you would like to. It's more preference, I think. Nature's Grasp is an interesting skill, but it's not something I've really used. It will morph to Bursting Vines or Nature's Embrace. Bursting Vines will launch a vine to swing yourself to an ally, instantly healing them for 4121 health. Gain 10 ultimate when healing an ally under 60% health while you're in combat. This effect can occur every 4 seconds. Ability scales with their highest offensive stat. You also have Nature's Embrace. Launch a vine to swing to your ally, healing you, and then for 6864 health over 10 seconds, gain 3 ultimate when each of these effects completes if you're in combat. I just don't think this is really reliable in my opinion, but you can try it, but I haven't used this really. The ultimate is a MVP ultimate. Secluded Grove morphs to Enchanted Forest, which I use on my tank. This one will heal so much, and it's just up all the time. And you generate 20 ultimate if the initial heal used on a friendly target is under 50% health. Just insane. Healing Thicket I would use on the healer. This is going to do more healing, and it's just something that it's such a good heal, y'all. It's also going to heal allies after they leave the area. All right, passives. Accelerated Growth. When you heal yourself or an ally under 40% health with Green Balance ability, you gain Major Mending, increasing your healing done by 16% for 4 seconds. These passives in here are really, really big for like healers. You don't have to use all of these for some of the DPS characters, but you can still get them though. I mean, you're going to have plenty of skill points, so you can still use them. But whenever you heal an ally with Green Balance ability, you gain 250 Magicka stamina, whichever resource pool is lower. This effect can occur once every 1 second. Increase your healing done with Green Balance abilities by 2% for each Green Balance ability slotted. So that's, again, insane. So if you, as a healer, you're going to have maybe 3 to 4 skills on your bar. Maturation, whenever you activate a heal on yourself or an ally, you grant the target minor toughness, increasing their max health by 10% for 20 seconds. All right, let's go to Winter's Embrace. This is a Frost line. We have Frost Cloak, which will morph to Expansive Frost Cloak, which will give Major Resolve. and increase the radius and reduce the cost. And then you have Ice Fortress, which will give minor protection instead. I like this one for the tank instead of Expansive Frost Cloak. Impelling Shards morphs to Gripping Shards or Winter's Revenge. Gripping Shards is going to be around you. It's going to do frost damage, and it's going to reduce movement speed. It's based off of max health and has a higher chance to apply the chilled stats effect. I use this on my tank. For Winter's Revenge, I use this on the Magicka Ice Damage DPS. This is going to be targeted, so you summon it where you want it, and so it also is going to scale off of your spell damage and max Magicka. So this is solid for Ice Warden DPS. Arctic Wind. This is an insane heal. Arctic Blast is going to do damage around you, but it's also going to heal you for a lot of health. And it's going to scale off your max health. So if you're a tank, you can get some massive heals off this. You also have Polar Wind, which is going to do a heal. It's also going to heal your teammate as well and do damage. I like this one for tank because it can heal your teammate. It does a lot of healing. So either one really if you want, but I like this one for tank. Crystallized Shield goes to Shimmering Shield or Crystallized Slab. Both of these are solid. I use Shimmering Shield for tank because when you absorb a projectile, you will restore Magicka and gain Major Heroism, which will give you Ultimate, which again, we love Ultimate. Crystallized Slab. The difference is absorbing projectiles launches an icy bolt back to the enemy. It's not, in my opinion, really that like beneficial to have that. I'd rather have the ultimate than do damage. It's not really going to do much, you know what I mean? Frozen Gate. Okay, so this is a pool. This is not my favorite pool in the game, but it is a pool and you can use it as a warden. You've got Frozen Retreat, which in my opinion, this again is solid, but it's just not the best pool you can use, but you might as well use it because it again will get enemies to you, but it's random. So what this does is it will summon a portal, and when it's triggered, an enemy is teleported to you. It'll be immobilized and it deals frost damage. An ally can also, in the portal, activate the Icy Escape, teleporting them to you and grant them major expedition. You can have 3 Frozen Retreats active at a time. You can use this one if you'd like. I like using Frozen Device because this will, again, you can have 3 of these, but they will be inflicted, or they will be afflicted by major maim, reducing their damage done by 10% for 4 seconds. This is just great as a tank because you're going to help your teammates not take as much damage or you take as much damage. Again, it's random, so there's like 3 enemies there. You're only going to get 1. I guess for the DK chains, like, you know, you only get 1, 2, but like you can actually choose what you want. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why this one is not as good for me in my book, because it's just, you don't get to choose technically. Passives. Glacial Presence. Again, increase the chance of applying chilled to enemies with Winter's Embrace abilities by 200%. That's insane. But enemies and allies who have recently been chilled take 10% more critical damage and healing from you, which is crazy. Frozen Armor. Increase your physical and spell resistance by 500 for each Winter's Embrace ability slotted. Great. Reduce effectiveness of snares applied to you by 15% for Icy Aura. And Piercing Cold, again, solid, amazing passive. Increases your magic and frost damage by 10%. And then the ultimate in this tree is Sleet Storm. I love this ultimate. It's cool, no pun intended, but the morphs are Northern Storm and Permafrost. Northern Storm it's a huge ultimate cost of 200, but it's going to deal frost damage around you. It's also going to reduce movement speed and increase your max magic by 9% for 30 seconds. You and nearby allies gain major protection, reducing the damage taken by 10%. So a solid buff as well. Permafrost. The difference in this is it's going to increase the snare potency and applies a chilled stats effect to enemies hit, but at the expense of damage done. Increase the duration the ability ranks up. So it's going to have a longer duration, less damage, but it's going to apply the chilled stats effect and increase the snare potency. Now let's go into the build section. We're going to go through tank first, and then we'll go through the other 3. Again, this is a setup that you can use. This is just a, you know, beginner-esque setup. You don't have to use this if you don't want to, but again, this is just something that is recommended just to get you started. So this is our tank, and I will go through these pretty quickly. I don't spend a ton of time on all of these just because, again, these are very bare bones, but it will give you an idea of where to start. Okay, so I hope you guys keep that in mind. So first we're on the Warden tank. We'll go through the race, skills, passives, and buffs. We'll go through the race and everything that I'm using here. 48 points into health, 16 into Magicka. We're using a Nord. So we have 42k max health, 23k max stamina, 19.8k max Magicka. We got around 26k physical and spell resistance, which will probably be buffed after buffs. This is all pre-buff. Using Longfin pasted with melon sauce, and the Mundus Stone we are using is not the Thief. You will end up using the Lord Mundus Stone, which will then increase your max health to 46k. And I love Nord for I love Nord for Warden tanks. They're just fantastic. All right, so we'll start on the back bar for skills. We've got Blockaded Frost, just a great ability to chill enemies. Also give you damage shield and your allies a damage shield. Ice Fortress, this is going to be your main buff for yourself. It's going to give you major resolve, and it's also going to give you minor protection. Inner Rage is a ranged taunt from the Undaunted line. This is something that's really nice, just to be able to taunt at range. Bullnetch, this is a, again, resource ability to be able to get your stamina back. And Deep Fissure, this will apply Major Breach. I'm using this because, again, this is going to be able to do this in an AoE setting, not just single target. I love that. The ultimate here, Enchanted Forest, again, this is going to be a great heal that you can have up almost all the time, and it will give you ultimate back. On the front bar, our typical Pierce Armor, this is going to be a single target taunt. It's going to apply Major Breach and Minor Breach, so it'll give us both of those. Then we have Frozen Device. Again, this will be your pull, and again, I don't like it as much as some of the other ones, but it's still a solid pull. It's going to also apply Major Maim. Shimmering Shield, this is again the shield that will absorb projectiles. It's going to absorb 69,000 damage, which is crazy, and it'll give major heroism when you get those projectiles. Polar Wind is your self-heal and a heal to someone else. Use this when necessary. This does cost a ton of Magicka, so you really need to be careful with that. Really need to be careful with it. And then Gripping Shards, conjure icy shards around you to skewer enemies in the area, immobilizing enemies for them for 15 at 22 frost damage. This is just a great ability to use for your tank. Again, if you're finding that you're running out of Magicka, you can switch this to Betty Netch instead of Bull Netch, but that's really something you're going to have to just kind of play around with, because a lot of your abilities do use Magicka. So that's something that you really need to just play around with, depending on if this is what you go with or not. The ultimate is Permafrost. Permafrost is, again, just a fantastic movement speed reduction and chilled status effect ultimate, and it's also going to give your allies major protection, which is really nice. You can switch this out with Warhorn as well. For the passives, again, I would get all the animal companion passives, just because we have Bullnetch and Deep Fissure. I'd get all the Winter's Embrace, and then Green Balance, you really, you could just get all of them, just because you are using that ultimate. So that's something that you probably need to get, is all of these ultimates here, or all these passives there. Destruction Staff, you can get all of these. One-handed and shield, you can get all of these. Heavy armor, you can get all these. You can eventually get your medium and light armors as well. For guilds, you can get the Undaunted passives, and then your racial passives obviously are something that you want. Now we'll go to the item sets. For the item sets, we're using Hrothgar. Hrothgar is a set that a lot of people don't like in PvP, but it's a really cool set for PvE. This is going to give us offensive penetration, armor, and max health. It's going to stun or immobilize enemies, causing them to burst with frost magic, applying the chill status effect, dealing 13% of their total physical and spell resistance as frost damage themselves, and enemies within 8 meters of them. This effect can occur once every 7 seconds and ignores spell resistance. The traits that you can use on this, you could use Infused on the chest if you would like, and then use a combination of Reinforced and Sturdy for the gloves, belt, shoes, and legs. You can also use Infused here as well, but I just have Divines on this. Again, it's a very bare bones build. The second set, and this is inspired by Zynode, so Zynode, thank you for making the Nature's Bounty build, but I started using his Nature's Bounty build last year, and I love this set on Warden, and that is Frozen Watcher. Frozen Watcher, what it basically does is going to be dealing frost damage every 1 second around you within 6 meters, and every time you block. So you're going to be blocking a lot as a warden, and so it's just fantastic for warden. I love it. So again, thank you, Zanin, for inspiring me to put this on this character. It's a fantastic set. I'm using jewelry and rings here. You don't have to use gold. The weapons, again, ignore the traits on these. You can pick the ones that are beneficial to you. And then I'm using an ice staff as well here. For the monster set, I'm using Lord Warden. It's a really simple monster set to obtain. This is just whenever you take damage, you have a 50% chance to summon a shadow orb for 10 seconds. That increases the physical and spell resistance of you and your group members within 8 meters by 3180. I love this monster set. It's a great one for a tank. There's other monster sets you can use as well. But again, this is just a template for you all. All right, for the champion points, we have the slotted ones are Ironclad, Duelist Rebuff, Unassailable, and Enduring Resolve. So 1, 2, 3, and then this one in here. The other points that you get, just put them into things to make sure you can get these, and then put them wherever else you want that you don't have to slot. Just keep that in mind with champion points. For the red tree, we got Rejuvenation slotted, Fortified slotted, and then we are slotting Pain's Refuge and Sustained by Suffering. Again, put the points in to get these, and then make sure to put other ones in passive buffs so you can just get all the passive buffs. Green, it's really up to you. For rotation, there's really no rotation as a tank. Just make sure you're blocking, make sure you're pulling enemies, you're aligning enemies right for your teammates, make sure you watch your resources, and yeah, just position the targets beneficially for your teammates. Okay, now we're gonna go into stamina DPS. All right, so we have stamina DPS here. You don't have to use the Nord race. This is only because I have the armory set up. I would use either Khajiit, I would use Orc, or something of that nature. Nord is fine, but I think Khajiit or Orc would be solid as well. So just keep that in mind when you're doing that. But I have 64 points in the stamina here. We have 32.5k max stam. Using Longfin Paste with Melon Sauce again, or you can use Braised Rabbit, but Longfin Paste with Melon Sauce is just so good in my opinion. And the Moon of Stone that we're going to use is going to be the Thief, which will increase our spell critical and weapon critical. So now we'll be at about 47.5% weapon critical without any buffs. Now let's go into the skills for the stamina DPS. On the bar, we have Endless Hail. This is a damage over time for your bow. It's fantastic. You always want it on your bar. Next skill is Poison Injection from bow. This is again a damage over time that's going to do a lot of poison damage, and it is going to be an execute under 50%. Growing Swarm, we are going to be doing 15,000 bleed damage over 10 seconds and apply minor vulnerability, and then we're going to do more bleed damage to enemies nearby. We're using a bleed build, so you need this on the bar. I love it. Then we're using Bull Netch. Again, you want this because it's going to give you major brutality and sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20% and give you stamina back. Subterranean Assault is going to do massive poison damage. It's a great area of effectability as well, so make sure to have this on your bar. And then we're using Wild Guardian, which is a great Warden ultimate. You need to slot this on both bars because it'll go away if you don't. On the front bar, Cutting Dive. This is another spammable bleed damage. It's going to do a lot of bleed damage. We're using two hands, so we're using Reverse Slice. This is going to be your execute that you can use. If it's really up to you on this. Again, these are interchangeable if you'd like. Stampede, I have to put this on here because it's just so good. It has so much range, and it's just so easy to close in on people with this. It's just great. Carve from the two-handed tree. This is going to do bleed damage as well, which I absolutely love. And then we're using Bird of Prey, which is the slottable animal companion skill line, which we talked about before. Animal companion skill that's going to give us minor berserk at all times that we're on this bar. And then we have Wild Guardian again here. Passives, get every single animal companion passive. You don't have to get any green balance passives if you don't want, but eventually just get them. Winter's Embrace, you get all the passives except for really Frozen Armor. You're not really using anything here, but all the other ones you can get. Weapon, you want to get all the two-handed passives. Bow, you want to get all the bow passives. Armor, you want to get the medium armor passives. Guild, you want to get the Undaunted passives. You can get Banish the Wicked for Fighter's Guild. And then obviously your racial passives. Again, you can choose your race. I wouldn't choose the Nord in my opinion. Now let's go into the item sets. The item sets. We are using Leviathan. This is a very easy set to get. This is just going to give you a bunch of critical. So divines, medium, max stamina. Jewelry and weapons, you're using Blood Drinker. Blood Drinker is going to give crit chance and increase the bleed damaging attacks, your bleed damaging attacks by 20%. So I love this set. We're using the battle axe and the bow as well. And then the monster that we're using is Prior Theric, actually. Dealing direct damage with an area effect ability creates a 6-meter shadowy whirlwind below you. And this is gonna do 10,026 physical damage each second, increase your damage taken from your area of effect abilities by 5%. So we do have some area of effect abilities. We have Air Barrage. We technically have Subterranean Assault. We have Stampede. This does an area effect around. And then this does a cone. But yeah, it's really nice. I love it, and it's just a cool monster set. You can switch that out with Celine's if you want. You can switch it out with Veladreth. You can switch it out with Crag. There's a lot of monster sets you can switch it out with. Domi House. But I like using it. I just think it's a fun set, and so I'm just trying it out on this character, and I just think it's just kind of cool. Now let's go into the champion points. For the champion points, we have into the Warfare tree. We're slotting Fighting Finesse. We're slotting Deadly Aim, Thaumaturge, and Master at Arms. Remember, make sure you get the points to get to these, and then you can use them in the other passives. For red, we're slotting Rejuvenation, Survival Instincts, Bloody Renewal, and Sustained by Suffering. Green is up to you. So for rotations with this character, what you want to do, I'll just keep it pretty simple. I'm not going to go super in depth in it. But you want to always have your Netch up. You want to summon your bear. And then you'll apply your dots. So you do bow, light attack, poison injection, light attack, Fetcher Infection, and then you'll assault, and then switch bars. You'll stampede, you'll carve, and then you'll cutting dive spam, cutting dive spam, cutting dive spam, cutting dive spam. Use your bear ultimate when it's up and switch bars. That's basically what you do. Make sure your Betty is always up. Make sure Fetcher Infection's up. Bow, Subterranean Assault, switch bars, stampede, carve, and then cutting dive, spam, and then you'll use your execute when they're under the execute percentage. Okay, now we're gonna go to the Magicka DPS. This is the Magicka Ice Warden build that I have on the website, except for the monster set that I'm using here, again, because you can really interchange the monster sets out if you would like to. But this build is really cool. It's on the website. I have it in the channel as well. It's very, very simple, but this is a high elf. You can also be a Breton if you would like, or a Khajiit. 64 points into Magicka. And then we have the Thief Mundustone, which will increase our spell critical. And then we're using Lonfin Pasty with Melon Sauce as the as our buff food. It's a very simple build to utilize, and we'll get into that now when we go into the skills. So for the back bar, it's really, really simple. We're using Unstable Wall of Frost. This is just going to be, we're using an Ice Staff. Again, if you want more damage, you can use an Inferno Staff, but this is just a great AoE. Inner Light, this is just here for a max Magicka increase and a major prophecy buff, giving our spell critical rating. We also have Fetcher Infection. This is part of we're using this because we have a set that will be playing off of this. Blue Betty, just to give you resources back, and Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage. Then we have Bird of Prey, which is going to increase our damage done with Minor Berserk. Eternal Guardian is going to be a great ultimate for us as well with magic damage. On the front bar, our main spammable is Screaming Cliff Racer. And then we have Deep Fissure, which is going to do magic damage. We have Inner Light again to give us that boost. Winter's Revenge to do ice damage. And then Bird of Prey again for our damage buff. And then Eternal Guardian as well here. For passives, you want to use all the Animal Companion passives. You want to use Winter Embrace passives. In Green Balance, you really don't need any of these, but you can get them eventually. Destruction Staff passives, make sure to get all these. For armor, you can get all the light armor. For guild, you can get all the Undaunted passives. And racial, you can get the racial passives as well. Now, when we get to the item sets, okay, the item sets, again, I'm using Falcon Scoria monster set. You can switch this with Iceheart. That's what I have on the website. This is interchangeable within a few, but this is just great because we have damage over time effects. I love it, but you can switch this with Iceheart, which I do have, but I'm just using this for now on this PTS. Our sets though are Icy Conjure. This is going to, whenever you apply a minor debuff to your enemy, summon a non-reflectable wraith that will chase your enemy, dealing 14,280 frost damage over 10 seconds. This is the buff that we're going after, is that minor vulnerability that we're getting from the Fetcher Infection. The jewelry and weapons are Frostbite. Frostbite's a great set for Warden. It's going to increase damage done by frost abilities, increase your damage done against chilled enemies, and increase your damage done against enemies afflicted with minor brittle. Just a fantastic item set. For champion points, we are slotting Fighting Finesse, Deadly Aim, Thaumaturge, and Biting Aura. Make sure to get the points that you need to get to these and then put them in the other passive slots whenever you have extras. For red, we are slotting Rejuvenation, Survival Instincts, Siphoning Spells, and Sustained by Suffering. For green, you can put in whatever you'd like. Now, the rotation for this is one of the simplest rotations that you will do. It is so simple. Again, I have a full guide on this on the website and in the YouTube channel for the whole build. But essentially, all you got to do is you summon your bear. You have your Betty up at all times. Use your staff, Fetcher Infection, switch bars, Winter's Revenge, Subterranean Assault. Use your ability, Cliff Racer, Cliff Racer, Cliff Racer. Use your assault before you switch bars again. Staff, Fetcher Infection, Winter's Revenge, assault, Cliff Racer, Cliff Racer, Cliff Racer. It's just a very, very simple rotation. That's literally all you got to do. Okay, and now the last build for this video, and that is the healer. For the healer, we're using the High Elf again, just because we have that for the Magicka DPS. You can use Argonian, you can use Breton, you could use other races if you'd like, but the High Elf is still solid. 64 points into Magicka. For the Moonstone, we are using the Ritual. You can use other things as well. Again, that is up to you, but we are using the Ritual. So we have 37.7k max Magicka, and we're using Longfin Pasty with Melon Sauce Food. For the skills, we are using Unstable Wall Frost. This will just be because we are a Frost Warden. I just love being a Frost Warden, in my opinion. You can use Lightning if you would like to, but I like using Unstable Wall Frost. Energy Orb, this is one of your best skills on the Undaunted line. This is gonna give healing over time and give resources back to allies. Lotus Blossom, this is going to give you major prophecy, but it's also going to cause your light attacks to restore health and your fully charged heavy attacks to restore health to you or nearby allies. Blue Betty, this is going to give you Magicka back and give you again major brutality and sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage. And then you've got Elemental Drain, which is in the Destruction Staff line, which will do minor Magicka Steal and apply major breach to enemies and bosses. You want to put this on a boss every time it's up. Aggressive Warhorn is an ultimate that you can use here as well. Just a fantastic ultimate for healers. On the front bar, Healing Springs. We're using this because you restore 30 Magicka every time you heal you or an ally in that circle. It's a great heal over time. Combat Prayer is your most important skill. This is a burst heal, but also going to give minor Berserk and minor Resolve, increasing you and your allies' damage done by 5% and give you physical and spell resistance. Enchanted Grove, this is going to be a great heal. It's like a conal heal, it's a burst heal, and it's going to give you targets to get healed minor intellect, minor endurance, increasing their Magicka and stamina recovery by 15% for 30 seconds or 20 seconds. It is fantastic. You want to use this all the time. Budding Seeds is a great heal over time. It can be instant if you want to activate it again, but they also can activate the synergy and healing for a lot of health. Living Trellis. Living Trellis is something that you can heal your ally in front of you, and then you can also heal them when this expires. So it's just a nice little heal over time, but also a last initial burst heal at the end. Healing Thicket is our ultimate on this side. This is just fantastic. You always want to use this. You always use this because it's always up, but it's just fantastic for healing. For Animal Companion passives, you can get these just because you have Blue Betty. In the Green Balance, you want all these passives. Winter's Embrace, you can get all these You don't really have to get frozen armor. You can get all these other ones though. They're solid. Resto staff, you can get all the passives here. Destruction staff, all the passives there. Light armor, you can get all these passives. Guild, you can get the Undaunted passives. And then racial passives, of course. For item sets, we are using Spell Power Cure, just a great healer set. I love this set. It's not hard to get if you do the body pieces. Just gonna be amazing. Whenever you overheal yourself or an ally, you give them Major Courage, increase their weapon and spell damage by 430. It's just so good. I love this set as a healer for beginners. Jewelry, we're using Winter's Respite. This is again very easy to get. Overland in Western Skyrim. Casting abilities leave an effect on the ground and create a circle of healing frost. I love that effect because it just is so cool with the Warden. Your Frost Warden, it leaves frost and it's healing people. I love this one. Just a great beginner set as well. And then Sentinel of Rakugames. This is just a fantastic monster set. Very easy to get as well. Gonna give you increased healing, and then it's gonna heal enemies or yourself, or allies in yourself, and also give them magic and stamina back. I love this monster set. For champion points, again, make sure to put points into the things that you need to get to these slottables, but then you can put them in passives to just get added effects. But we're slotting Soothing Tide, Swift Renewal, Fighting Finesse, and Enlivening Overflow. The red, we are slotting Survival Instincts, Rejuvenation, Siphoning Spells, and Sustained by Suffering. The green is up to you. There is really no rotation with healer. It is very reactive. Make sure your Betty is always up. Make sure your weakness to elements is on the boss. And then place your orbs constantly. Use your combat prayer constantly. And then really after that, it's just reactive. Use your heals to do certain burst heals and the healing that they need. And yeah, that's basically what you do. The healer's very reactive. Just make sure your combat prayer is up all the time, your energy orb is up, and your Betty is always up. So something you always want to do. But that's going to wrap up the ultimate Warden class guide, you all. We are now only one ultimate class guide away from being done with the class guides. I really do appreciate all the support, y'all. I know these videos are long, but I'm trying my best to consolidate them as best as I can and give you the most information that I can as well. I do really appreciate you guys and gals watching this. If you would, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and have a tap that bell icon. It really helps me out. Helps me keep making these. Thank you again to all my patrons. If you want to come watch me play live, I stream on twitch.tv/brahwegotthis. And you can join our Discord and check out our website at brahwegotthis.com. But until next time, y'all, just remember to have faith, be great, and I'll see you on ESO.